Hi guys, it's Hani here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. You guys have been requesting something Descendants. So today I'm gonna show you how to make Descendants Evie red box purse cake. If you are watching this video but are not subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and also be sure to hit the notification bell next to it so you get notified when I upload a new video. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and Pinterest. And now let's make this cake. So I'm using one 13 by 9 inch cake and we're just going to level the top and also the bottom and then tort it. I'm going to trim the ends and then we're going to divide it into 3 equal portions. I'm going to fill the cake with Swiss buttercream. You can also use simple syrup if you wish to. I'm going to chill the cake until buttercream firms up. Stick 2 drinking straws into the cake for the support. And using serrated knife we can start with the carving. First I'm trimming off the edges and then we're going to carve the front. Make it a little more rounded. And then we also have to square off the edges. I think we are ready for the crumb coat, so use your buttercream. I am using Swiss buttercream to seal the crumbs in and then stick it into the fridge until buttercream firms up. To decorate the cake, I am using marshmallow fondant that I colored with some red food coloring. We are going to be primarily using red colored fondant. So roll it out and then cover the front and sides of the cake. Use your hand and a fondant smoother to smooth the fondant, and then using a knife and a pastry wheel trim off the excess. The white stuff that you see on the fondant, it's cornstarch. I like to use it to prevent the fondant from sticking. And then we're gonna roll out another piece of red fondant and cover the cake starting in the back. Use a sharp knife to trim the front. That's going to be the flap on the purse or on the bag, and then trim off the excess on the sides and in the back as well. If needed, use your hand to smooth the edges or your fingers to smooth the edges a little bit, especially in the front. Now we're gonna use stitching tool and just run it along the edges and then on the sides. To make the corners on the bag, I am going to use fondant wheel, but you can also use a small ruler or anything with a straight edge will work. Just make sure that you don't cut the fondant through, you just want an indentation in there. Now to decorate the front of the bag, we're going to need some templates, and I'm starting with royal blue fondant, cutting out a large rectangle. I'm going to set this aside to dry a little, and then we can make another piece that is going to go on top of that blue rectangle. Now we're cutting out fondant pieces like this. I find it's helpful to have a rolled out piece of fondant chilling in the freezer for a couple minutes and then use either X-Acto knife or a pastry wheel to cut it out. For faster drying, you can also add a little bit of Tylose powder to your fondant, just knead it in, and then drying process should be a bit faster. I'm also going to cut out a large heart. I placed a piece of plastic wrap on top and I'm just making an indentation using a small fondant wheel here. Pieces have been drying for about an hour or so, so they feel dry to the touch, but they're still pretty flexible, so I'm just gonna layer them using a little bit of water for the glue. To transfer this more complex shape, I use a little bit of Crisco on my wax paper, and then I transferred it onto the wax paper, and now we're just going to layer it on top of that blue fondant. Use a little bit of water for the glue, and then you can just peel off the wax paper and it should stay in place. I'm also going to cut out a strap. I believe this is a strap. This will go on the top of the cake, and we're just going to add stitching around, and then we can set this aside. Then we're gonna start working on the chain attachments. These I'm going to make from gum paste, or you can add Tylose to your fondant. So to make these, you're basically starting as if you were to make the bow. Trim off the ends, use a little bit of water for the glue there, and then put something to keep the loop open. Now, using some yellow gum paste, add a few buttons in there. And here is where I made my mistake. I accidentally made all the chains and all the hardware from yellow fondant instead of using brown fondant. So I'm just gonna show you how to do it here. And I ended up actually swapping the yellow pieces for the brown pieces. And then you're gonna have to let that dry. Now we're ready to add that front panel on the cake. Use a little bit of water, and then stick it on the front panel. Try to make it as square as possible, and then use your stitching tool all around this panel. Now we're going to make straps for the top of the cake or top of the purse. So I'm starting with the blue strap, using a fondant here, and this is going to be the yellow strap that is going to go on here. And for the seam, to cover up the seam, we are going to use that little piece we cut out. Here is the little piece, and just add two buttons actually, one on left and one on right. Use a little bit of water for the glue. You can also attach the heart. Now I'm going to glue the handle attachment on each side. Hold it in place for a couple of moments, and then repeat on the other side. We're going to paint the front yellow straps and also the heart with edible paint. I am using gold edible paint. If you don't have gold edible paint, you can also use gold luster dust mixed with some vodka. Now we're gonna make a gum paste crown for the charm. So to make the charm, I am using a small oval shape cutter and then X-Acto knife to cut out blue crown, and I'm going to let this dry completely. It will only take about an hour or two because this is gum paste and it will dry out pretty fast, and it's a rather small piece too. So to make the strap that is going to be attached to the chain, I'm also using gum paste and my stitching tool first, and then we're going to fold the ends so we can then thread another piece of gum paste through and attach the chain. Like so, and then you can just let it dry. To keep the loops open, you can put a piece of rolled up wax paper, or I am using drinking straws. Also, good idea at this time would be to shape the strap over a piece of wax paper or a tissue, just so it's not completely flat when we put it in front of the purse. Now for the second charm, we're just going to flatten a piece of yellow gum paste, make a hole with a drinking straw, and then you can write Evie on it. I'm using a toothpick to make the indentation, and then we're going to let it dry completely. Once dried, you can either use gold edible paint, or here I'm using gold edible luster dust and a large dry food only paintbrush. To make the chain, I am using brown gum paste. We're gonna cut out small rounds and then take a slightly larger either cutter, or here I'm using a piping tip, and cut out the rings. Make sure to keep the gum paste covered to prevent drying out. Now to make the chain, I'm going to cut the rings, keeping one or two intact, and then we're going to thread these, pinching two ends together. If needed, you can add a little bit of water for the glue so the ends stick together nicely. Now you can add a piece of chain to the large blue strap that we made, pinch two ends, then you can rotate it to hide the seam inside, and repeat on the other end. Like I mentioned before, I ended up swapping out the yellow pieces for the brown pieces, so I'm gonna show you how I did that. I also painted the edges on the crown with gold edible dust, and then we're gonna thread a piece of chain through, pinch two ends again, and then let it dry. Once dried, you can use gold edible dust and a large food only paintbrush and add a nice shimmer to the chain and all the brown hardware. Now I'm going to attach the chain onto the side clip there, and I'm just gonna pinch two ends and let it dry completely. On this side I'm attaching the crown. I realized that the crown is supposed to have the crack, so I'm adding the crack now with X-Acto knife, cutting out a small piece. Now we can do the other side. So I'm attaching the large blue strip to the chain, and then we're going to attach the chain onto the side clip there. And I'm also going to add Evie charm, but because Evie charm is a thick piece of gum paste, it is a bit heavier, so I am resting it on a small bottle until the gum paste dries. Then we can remove the bottle and it is going to hang on its own. Gum paste dries rather quickly, so it will only take about 20-30 minutes, and then you can remove the bottle. While that's drying, I'm going to use some brown petal dust and a clean food only paintbrush and just add a little bit of the brown around the edges to give the bag a little more dramatic look. Alright, we are almost done here, and then we're going to cut the cake. I had so much fun making this cake, although I have to admit I was a bit nervous when I started doing this cake because this is my first purse cake. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in a comment section down below, and don't forget to hit that notification bell button so you get notified when I upload a new video. And you can also keep up with what I'm up to on Instagram. You know how much I love Instagram, and I hope you guys will check it out. All the links to my social media are down below in the description box. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.